TikTok slang has gone too far. What do you mean the scream I just scrumped? What is it to scrump the
On the face, scream and scrumpt seem like this unusual pair, right? Scrumpt is this meme of a word that seemingly was pulled out of thin air, but when we take our knife and our fork and we make our way through other irregular verbs, we see that in English, scream and scrumpt actually fit pretty neatly into other patterns we've seen before. Let's start with those middle vowels, right? The E in scream and the in scrumped, right? Because we have a good amount of words that actually follow that same path, right? Where an E or an I becomes an like begin and begun, swim and swum, ring and rung, sink and sunk, right? Scream and scrumped, right? It's a sizable list, right? It's irregular still, but not unusual. Now let's move it to the back, to the T in scrumped. And here it's important to remember that T and D is almost the same thing, right? Like a D or a duh is voice, meaning it's more vibration when you make the sound, and a T is unvoiced with less vibration, but it's both made in the same area in your mouth, right? So when we take this expected past tense of screamed and go through a devoicing process, change that D to a T, what we do is we put it in line with other irregular past tense verbs, right? Like keep and kept, sweep and swept, sleep and slept, right? Things like that. And I know you're asking, what about the P? And we'll get there in just 2 seconds, right? Just stay with me. I think the P in scrumped could have come about in a number of different ways, right? One could just be matching the pattern, whether that's consciously or subconsciously, right? Like kept, slept, and swept all got P's in it, so scrumped should have a P in it, right? Maybe that's the process. But it could also be just the mechanics of the word scrumped, right? Because M sounds is made with your lips, right? And so are P sounds. But a T sound is made behind your top teeth with your tongue in the alveolar ridge area. And it could be in going from an M to a T, some people find it easier or more natural to insert a P sound as you release your lips along the way. But it could also be just for extra humor or extra emphasis, right? Like adding an extra P to scrumped really allows you to put some extra mustard behind it, right? You scrumped, right? You can really make people hear it. And because scrumped is not a standardized word yet, right? People might not expect it. Adding that extra P can just make it funnier. Or maybe it's a combination of those things, or maybe some people aren't doing any of those things, because I have seen scrumped spelled with no P. And look, I don't know if the first person to say scrumped was actively thinking about any of this, but I do think that several factors have come together to make this delicious turducken of a word.